The other Dow stock making news today, JP Morgan Chase, the nation's biggest bank, reached a record $13 billion settlement with federal and state authorities for misleading investors about bad mortgage-backed securities that it sold ahead of the housing crisis. Now, this payout also covers fraudulent conduct by Bear Stearns and Washington Mutual. Both were acquired by JP Morgan back in 2008. U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder said J.P. Morgan's conduct helped, quote, sow the seeds of the mortgage meltdown, and that there's no excuse for the firm's behavior.
This was something that was hard fought. It was something that we decided in terms of the amount had to be met. Otherwise, we would have simply filed our lawsuit. This was not simply something that J.P. Morgan simply signed a check and smilingly said, this is a good deal for us. This inflicts pain on that institution.
The deal is the largest settlement ever between the Department of Justice with one company.
So what will this record-breaking settlement mean for J.P. Morgan Chase and for its shareholders? And what about the possibility of criminal charges for the bank? Kayla Tausche joins us now with more. So, Kayla, is the worst over for J.P. Morgan? Do they have other issues that they must face? And what about that matter of criminal charges?
Tyler, this was the biggest elephant in the room for J.P. Morgan. Executives on an investor call that ended just moments ago said this was eliminating the biggest piece of outstanding litigation. But Attorney General Eric Holder did say earlier today in an interview with NBC News that you just clipped that the criminal charges, the criminal probe is still ongoing. That probe isn't over. This only settled civil charges. Then there's the smattering of other issues, an inquiry into hiring practices in China, potential manipulation of the energy markets, and a whole host of other things that the bank's still being investigated
They threw
for.
everything at J.P. Morgan. But, you know, over the last couple of years of this financial crisis, we've been reporting on so many other banks, whether it's Bank of America or others, that have had, you know, charges brought against them. Are there going to be more charges against other banks?
So this is the first big culmination of the mortgage fraud working group that the president set up in 2012. This is the tip of the iceberg. Jamie Dimon on that investor call said he didn't know why JP Morgan went first, but there had to be a first mover. But currently there are at least 9 other banks that are being investigated across the country. Attorneys general and prosecutors in California, New York, Georgia, New Jersey, all looking into this matter to figure out exactly what went wrong and what banks were on the hook for a lot of these activities.
This is $13 billion. There have been other settlements that have run into the billions as well. Where does this money go? You
know, it's interesting. If you look at all the settlements related to financial crisis activities, so far banks have paid a total of $85 billion. That's according to SNL Financial, and that's adding today's settlement and a couple other from the last couple weeks from JP Morgan and other banks. If you look at that, just about a third go to consumers in the form of mortgage modifications or other type of consumer relief. But then there's a sizable chunk, about $10 billion, that goes straight to the regulators. That goes straight to the Treasury, and we never really see where exactly that goes.
You know, Kayla, I don't know if you can answer this question, but, you know, a lot of the charges that were brought against JP Morgan are a direct result of this acquisition it made from Washington Mutual, which, you know, they were forced, JP Morgan was forced by the government to buy it. So how fair is this whole allegation?
Well, Washington Mutual as well as Bear Stearns, it's been a politically sensitive issue. The bank still reserves the right to pursue some litigation against the FDIC where Washington Mutual is concerned, and they might still do that. Now, of course, the Attorney General in California who led this settlement said the bulk of the wrongdoing came from legacy JP Morgan mortgage banking activities. But if you look at what JP Morgan's actually paying Fannie and Freddie, 3 out of the $4 billion there is related to Bear Stearns and Washington Mutual. So it really depends on how you slice this pie and what side you're choosing to believe on this.
Kayla Tausche, thank you very much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.